until the notion becomes a commonplace. Yet when it finally happens, it may still be a great surprise and a greater unknown. What technologies are likely to cause the next singularity? As we mentioned earlier, artificial intelligence is the technology that most people believe will usher in the singularity. Authors like Vinge and Singularitarian Ray Kurzweil think AI will usher in the singularity for a twofold reason. First, creating a new form of intelligent life will completely change our understanding of ourselves as humans. Second, AI will allow us to develop new technologies so much faster than we could before that our civilization will transform rapidly. A corollary to AI is the development of robots who can work alongside and beyond humans. Another singularity technology is the self-replicating molecular machine, also called autonomous nanobots, gray goo, and a host of other things. Basically, the idea is that if we can build machines that manipulate matter at the atomic level, we can control our world in the most granular way imaginable. And if these machines can work with their own. And finally, a singularitarian thought is devoted to the idea that synthetic biology, genetic engineering, we're going to talk about that, and other life sciences will eventually give us control of the human genome. Two world-altering events would come out of that one. We could engineer new forms of life and change the course of human evolution in one generation. Two, it's likely that control over our genomes will allow us to tinker with the mechanisms that make us age, thus dramatically increasing our lifespans. Many futurists, from Kurzweil to Stuart Brand to science like Aubrey de Grey, have suggested that extreme human longevity in the hundreds of years is a crucial part of the singularity. So in other words, this article is explaining to us that the things that we see going on right now, the rapid evolution of electronics and electronic devices and artificial intelligence, is one of these days, they say it's going to change all of the rules and then give mankind the ability to change his own DNA, to rewrite, as David said, in thy book, he's referring to God, all my members were written, which in continuance was fashioned when as yet there was none of them. David was describing, by inspiration of God, 3,000 years before Watson and Crick discovered the DNA double helix. David was describing the human genome, or DNA. In thy book, he described it as a book that God wrote. And I believe, just as God wrote this book, God wrote the book of our DNA. In fact, God is the author of all life. Everything that has DNA in it in this world, in this universe, God wrote that book. And there are rules concerning that book. God said, you shall not add to nor take away from the words of the book that I have written. And so here we have man now who is getting smarter. He seems to think he is getting smarter by the day, and now is on the verge of the ability to rewrite his own DNA, making him into something that in his eyes is going to be far better than his own humanity is at present time. Here is an article concerning Intel. We're making steady progress toward Ray Kurzweil's singularity, says Justin Ratner, CTO of Intel. The singularity, that's what he's talking about. You know, the point where machine intelligence jogs past human intelligence and brings us to a new era where combined computer cognition is the equivalent of a minor deity. What is the singularity really? It's where machine intelligence surpasses human intelligence, even by just a tiny bit. At that point, the machines, which are now more knowing than we are, can recursively improve on themselves in a never-ending and rapidly accelerating cycle of getting better and better. Kurzweil tones it down a bit and simply says it's going to be a time where machines can manifest their own rapidly advancing technology. The implications of a meteoric rise in technology, self-replicating, smarter than human intelligences, and super beings, it's all still there though. Perhaps in Intel's mind, the singularity involves computers designing processors for their next of kin to the point where we have the 1nm Intel processors featuring 10,000 cores. The article goes on to say, is this something we really want to work towards? Is it inevitable? And will these machines become self-aware? No one really knows, but it's certainly an interesting concept to think on. Congratulations, Intel. Stating that they are actively working on the Singularity goes a bit beyond miniaturizing processors and coming up with interesting ways to optimize code for multiple cores. It's a bit like casually stating that your experiments on Family Dog have yielded a Doberman with the intelligence of your or I and the ability to speak several languages. Here is an article dealing with singularity called Waiting for the Rapture. Now, you're going to like this. Technological convergence will change our lives but won't make them indefinitely long. Across cultures, classes, and aeons, people have yearned to transcend death. Now, I'm going to stop right here because that is the very thing that the serpent promised Eve in the Garden of Eden. We're going to go back to that here in just a little bit. But you remember she said that she told Lucifer, she told the serpent, Eve did, that if she ate of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, that God told her that she would die. And yet Lucifer said to her, ye shall not surely die. He was giving her a false hope of immortality. And so anyway, people have yearned to transcend death. Bear that history in mind as you consider the creed of the Singularitarians. Many of them fervently believe that in the next several decades we'll have computers into which you'll be able to upload your consciousness, the mysterious thing that makes you, you. Then with your consciousness able to go from mechanical body to mechanical body or virtual paradise to virtual paradise. You'll never need to face death, illness, bad food, or poor cell phone reception. Now you know why the singularity has also been called the rapture of the geeks. In other words, now this concept of the rapture is interesting because we believe in the translation of the church. In other words, people who are living on planet Earth at the Lord's appearing will go from this world to the next into a transformed body without ever seeing death. And this is what's being envisioned by who they call geeks. But these are serious people, my friend. The ability to transcend mortality and human beings given the chance to live for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, breaking the cycle that God laid down in the Scriptures. And you have to wonder, who's behind it all? Who is it that is actually feeding the technology and the ideas? If we can't imagine them, where are these ideas then coming from? Think about familiar spirits and think about the inspiration that devils and demons have given mankind over the thousands of years that man has been on this earth. This is what we're dealing with, people. Mankind transcending humanity to become a god. Here's an article called Signs of the Singularity. Hints of the Singularity's approach can be found in the arguments of its critics. The article talks about the AI scenario, or the artificial intelligence scenario. We create superhuman artificial intelligence in computers. The IA scenario. We enhance human intelligence through human-to-computer interfaces. That is, we achieve intelligence amplification. The biomedical scenario. We directly increase our intelligence by improving the neurological operation of our brains. Now, I want to stop right here, and I want you to think about something for a minute. I want you to think about what it is that you had for breakfast 3 days ago. It's kind of hard to think about that. It's kind of hard to remember. We know we did. We could kind of remember 3 days ago, but to remember what we had for breakfast, or what song we were listening to on the radio 4 days ago as we were going to work or we're going to the store or going to whatever. And yet, with the singularity in place, with the ability to implant devices into the human brain that would record every single thought, action, sense that we have so that we could draw from them in a near perfect way and remember every single thing that we experienced in life. This is what we're talking about, the ability to become godlike in our perceptions. He talks about the internet scenario. Humanity, its networks, computers, and databases become sufficiently effective to be considered a superhuman being. In other words, a superhuman being would be the entire collective of every computer that's linked into the internet. And here it is. Here's an interesting, this is what really got me going. It's called the digital Gaia scenario. The network of embedded microprocessors becomes sufficiently effective to be considered a superhuman being. Look at this website called the Digital Gaia. This is about digital creations. I think this is a company that does graphics for people and so on. But it's called the Digital Gaia scenario, or the Digital Gaia effect. And what is Digital Gaia? Gaia, if you remember from our study on the goddess, Gaia is the spirit that connects all living things. She is the mother and protector of them all. So I want you to get this idea. In fact, if you saw the movie I, Robot, you saw the digital Gaia. When they went through the whole scenario in I, Robot of who was guilty of taking over all the robots and making them these evil drones that did the bidding of this super intelligence, when they found out who was behind all of this, it was a female artificial intelligence. This is the Gaia syndrome. She was and had interconnectivity with all of the electronics all over the world, especially the robots, and she made them do their bidding. She was in charge. Now we understand from the Bible this whole Gaia thing is her real name is Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. She is the one responsible for bringing all of the world governments together as one. She is the one, because of her ability to interconnect everything. This whole concept of Gaia worship is that you believe that the Mother Earth gives life to everything, and that we are all brothers and sisters. You know, all the little plants and all the little animals and all the little humans. We're all children of this one mother who connects us and brings us all together. Isn't that nice? The Gaia concept is the concept behind bringing all of the churches and all of the world's religions together in one religion, worshiping the earth, goddess, Diana, Gaia, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I'm going to show you this connectedness by a new thing that's coming out for Xbox here in just a little bit. Freemasonry talks about the brotherhood of all mankind. In other words, they're longing for the day when men will truly be unified. They will be uniform. They will all be the same. I'm talking about the brotherhood of mankind. I want you to notice this out of Revelation chapter 17, which gives us a description of this Gaia syndrome, Mystery Babylon the Great. Notice what it says. There came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, and I will show you the judgment of the great whore, that's Gaia, that notice that she sitteth upon many waters. What are these waters? Revelation 17 verse 15. And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. In other words, it's showing here that she is the one that is uniting everyone together by her domination. When you sit on something, you dominate it. She is dominating over every critical aspect in this world to bring it all together as one. And so the Gaia concept in this digital world is that we have all of these devices in the world that are interconnected. Devices in even the most mundane things like refrigerators and televisions and satellite boxes and your cars and your cell phones and your iPods. It just, for some reason, every new gadget now that comes out has to have the ability somehow, some way of connecting with everything else. This is the new paradigm in electronics. And this is the Gaia concept, so that when all of these devices coming together, the hypothesis is that they themselves will be some sort of new super being, almost godlike. This is a scary world that we live in. Because while these futurists imagine that this is going to be some kind of great way of making the world at peace and harmonizing with one another and everybody getting along,